The sky was a soft, fluffy gray, and from that cozy blanket of clouds, a brand new raindrop was born. His name was Droplet, and he was very, very small. For a little while, he tumbled and fell through the cool, open air, a tiny, clear jewel tumbling towards the earth. Then, with a gentle plip, he landed on something smooth and cold and vast. He had landed on a giant windowpane high up on the side of a tall building. For a moment, Droplet just stayed perfectly still, getting his bearings. The world outside the window was a beautiful big blur. Everything was moving, but it was also fuzzy and out of focus. Down below, he could see other raindrops, thousands of them, all streaming down their own windows and gurgling along the gutters. He could hear their faint, happy chatter as they rushed along, all heading for the same place, a great, giggling, gathering puddle on the sidewalk far, far below. Droplet felt a little shiver that wasn't from the cold. The puddle down there was the end of the journey. Once a raindrop joined the puddle, the adventure was over. And Droplet's adventure had only just begun. He wanted to see things. He wanted to know things. He had heard older raindrops talk about the wonders of the world, about things called colors. Colors were the most special thing of all, they said. But from up here, everything was just a gray, streaming, blurred painting. How could he see colors if the whole world was a smudge? A raindrop just above him wobbled and began to move. Zip! It was gone, zipping down the glass in a straight, fast line. Another followed. And another. They were all in such a hurry to get to the bottom. But Droplet decided to be different. He decided to go slowly. Instead of zipping straight down, he would take a long, winding, wandering path. He would take his time. He would look around. Maybe, just maybe, if he looked very carefully, the world would become less blurry. Maybe he would see a color. And so, Droplet began his journey. He pushed himself away from his starting point and began to stream down the windowpane, not straight down, but in a long, curvy, meandering path. He moved slowly, oh so slowly, taking little zigzag steps down the glass. The window was huge, like a slippery, silent slide. Droplet rolled and slid, his round body gliding over the smooth surface. He passed by little specks of dust that looked like mountains and over long, dry streaks that were canyons from a previous cleaning. It was a whole landscape just for him. But the world outside, it was still a mess of shapes and movement. What were those big things rushing past? What were those tall, pointy things that didn't move at all? Everything was a grayish, blurred mystery. Would he ever be able to see clearly? Just then, Droplet's path took him right behind a thick white strip on the window frame. It was like going through a quiet, still tunnel. For a moment, the blurry world was blocked out. It was just Droplet and the clear, clean glass. It was peaceful. He could think. When he emerged from the other side of the frame, something amazing happened. His clear little body pressed against the glass, and for the very first time, the world outside seemed to snap into focus. It was just for a second, but it was wonderful. He saw the street, the buildings, the things moving. They were still fuzzy around the edges, but they were shapes now, not just blurs. This gave Droplet a new feeling. It was a feeling of excitement, a feeling of curiosity. He was doing the right thing by going slow. He was starting to see. He continued on his winding path, his tiny heart feeling a little bit bigger with hope. He rolled and slid and rolled and slid. The gentle rhythm of his movement was like a little song. Slide and pause. Look around. Slide and pause. Look around. And then he saw it. A flash of something. Something bright and bold and different. It was right below him on the street. It was a moving shape, but this shape wasn't gray. It was a strong, powerful, vivid color. It was the color of a shiny, ripe apple. It was the color of a ladybug's best spot. It was a happy, exciting, stop-and-look-at-me color. What could it be? Droplet had to get a better view. He changed his course, steering himself carefully down a new path on the glass, heading toward where he had seen that brilliant flash. He moved a little faster now, his excitement giving him a little push. He weaved around a sleepy blob of pollen and slid under a tiny spider's thread that was hanging from the top of the window. He was getting closer. The big, colorful thing moved again, and then it stopped right underneath him. Now Droplet could see it perfectly. It was a big, shiny truck. But not just any truck. This truck was the most beautiful, bright fire engine red. It was so red it seemed to glow, even through the rainy, gray day. The red was so vivid and clear against the wet, dark street. Droplet felt a jolt of pure joy. Red! He had found his first color! It was strong and brave and wonderful. He stayed there for a long moment, resting against the glass and admiring the magnificent red truck. He watched as people in shiny coats walked up to its side and opened it up. He was so busy enjoying the color red that he didn't notice a new problem. High above him, a bigger, heavier raindrop had landed. It began to stream down the window, faster and straighter than Droplet. It was coming right toward him. Before Droplet could move out of the way, the big raindrop caught up to him and swoosh! It merged with him. Now Droplet was a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier. His slow, winding journey was over for now. The combined weight of the two drops sent him sliding down the window in a sudden, fast, straight line. Zoom! Down he went. The world outside became a blur again. The red truck became a red smudge, then vanished from view entirely. Droplet tumbled and slid, unable to steer, unable to slow down. He was going too fast. He was going to race all the way to the bottom and join the puddle without seeing anything else. All his plans to go slow were ruined. He felt a wobble of disappointment. His adventure was going to be over too soon. But then his quick, straight path crossed a long, dry patch on the window. It was a dusty, sticky spot that hadn't been washed by the rain yet. His fast slide slowed, and then stopped. He was stuck, right in the middle of the dusty patch. Droplet wobbled, trying to push himself forward, but the dust held him tight. He was all alone in the middle of the big window. The red truck was gone. The other raindrops were zipping past him, far away. He felt very still and very small. Maybe this was it. Maybe he would just dry up here, a lonely drop on a window, and never see another color again. He looked out at the world. From here, he had a new view. He wasn't looking down at the street anymore. He was looking straight out across the street. And that's when he saw it. Not a blur, not a moving flash, but a calm, steady giant shape. It was a towering, peaceful giant, covered in 1,000 little wet diamonds from the rain. And this giant was not gray. It was a deep, cool, calming color. It was the color of new spring grass. It was the color of a crunchy cucumber. It was a gentle, friendly, shade-giving color. It was a great big oak tree, and it was the most wonderful green Droplet had ever imagined. Because he was stuck and still, he could see it perfectly. He could see how the green was made up of millions of little leaves, each one holding a tiny raindrop of its own. He could see the dark green of the leaves in the shadow, and the bright, almost yellow green of the leaves catching the light. The color green felt like a deep, quiet breath. It felt peaceful and kind. After the excitement of the red truck and the scare of falling so fast, the color green felt like a soft, comforting hug. Droplet appreciated this moment of being stuck. If he had been zipping down the window, he would have missed it completely. He would have never seen the gentle giant of a tree. Being forced to stop had given him a gift. And then another gift arrived. A gentle breeze shook the branches of the big green tree. The tree swayed, and a shower of collected rainwater fell from its leaves. The breeze pushed against the windowpane with a soft whoosh. It was just enough push. The breeze jiggled Droplet, loosening him from the dusty spot that held him. He was free, but he was determined not to go back to zipping. He remembered the value of going slow. He immediately began to steer himself back into a slow, curvy, winding path down the glass. He had seen red. He had seen green. What other colors were waiting for him? He was much lower on the window now. He could hear the sounds of the street more clearly, the swish of car tires on the wet road, the distant hum of the city. The puddle was getting closer. He could see it down below, a wobbly, reflecting mirror on the sidewalk, catching all the raindrops that jumped in with a happy plop. Droplet knew his journey was almost over. He had loved seeing the red and the green. He appreciated every moment. But he had heard there were 3 primary colors. Had he missed the third one? Was there still time? He looked around, his little body moving slowly and carefully, scanning the world outside his window. He saw gray sidewalks. He saw black car tires. He saw silver streetlights. But he didn't see the third color. He began to worry. Maybe that was all he would see. What was the third color? He couldn't remember. The wind blew a little harder, and Droplet slid a little faster. The puddle was right below him now. He was almost there. It looked like his adventure was over. But then Droplet had an idea. The puddle was like a mirror. It was reflecting everything above it. Instead of looking out, he would look down. He would look into the puddle's reflection. He tilted his little drop body and looked straight down into the wobbly, watery mirror of the puddle. And there it was. Reflected in the water, clear as day, was a shape. A glowing, bright, cheerful shape. It was a sign in a shop window across the street. And this sign was a brilliant sky after a storm beautiful blue. It was the blue of a forget-me-not flower. It was the blue of the deepest part of a puddle. It was a happy, peaceful, wonderful blue. The vivid blue sign shone its reflected light right up at him from the puddle, a final gift just before he arrived. Droplet felt so full of happiness. He had done it. He had taken his time. He had appreciated the fast moments and the slow moments, the scary slides and the peaceful stops. And because he did, he had seen everything. Red, green, and blue. The world was full of color, and he had been a part of it. With a final happy, content slide, Droplet reached the very bottom of the windowpane. He gathered himself on the windowsill for one last moment, looking out at the colorful world he had gotten to know. Then he dripped down, down, plop. He landed gently in the big, welcoming puddle. It was cool and fun and full of new friends. The other raindrops jiggled and jostled him in a happy welcome. And then, the most magical thing of all happened. Droplet was no longer just a clear raindrop. Because he had taken the time to really see the world, he carried its colors inside of him. As he swirled in the puddle, he caught the light, and for a glorious moment, he shimmered with a tiny, brilliant rainbow, a little flash of red, green, and blue, all mixed together, a perfect reminder of his wonderful, colorful journey. High above, the rain slowed. The clouds began to part. A single ray of sunshine broke through, warming the city street. It was the perfect end to a rainy day. And on another window, high on another building, a new little raindrop landed with a plip. It was the start of a brand new journey. I wonder what that little raindrop will see. Moral: appreciating the journey means finding joy and wonder in moving slowly, being curious, and noticing the beautiful details along the way.